Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Josiah, and in this video, I'd like to begin by apologizing. I've been away for a little bit. I was kind of frustrated that I had to be away for this long from YouTube, but at the same time, it was nice to take a short break from YouTube. I think that's something I'm going to try and do every once in a while. I might not upload for a week or two, maybe just so I can take a break from YouTube, because I don't want to feel a lot of stress and pressure about having to get a YouTube video up. And so taking a break helped me to realize that this isn't life or death. It's just YouTube, okay? It's not like my life depends on it. It's not paying me at all. So I don't feel pressure to get anything up. So that's kind of why I took it's not the reason I took a break, but it's the reason I'm glad I ended up taking a break from YouTube. But anyway, today we are back with a really big banger, because today I'm going to be teaching you a card trick, it's the same card trick, but I'm going to be teaching you 3 different methods to do it. I'm going to be teaching you a beginner method, a sort of the intermediate method, and a definitely advanced method of doing this. So I'm pretty excited. So let's just kind of start by discussing exactly what we're learning today. What we are learning is the ace assembly, or basically it's the idea of handing a deck to, basically having a deck of cards shuffled by a participant, and then having your spectator cut the deck into four different packets, and on the top of each packet is an ace. So it's basically the idea of having your spectator cut the 4 aces. Now you can use any 4 of a kind. A really great way you could build this up is that you could do a trick where maybe you have 4 cards selected, and then you go into this trick, which I'll be showing you how to do that later. But it's a really cool trick to do. I'm going to be showing you 3 different methods for doing this. Now, one idea that I have for a prediction version of it is, let me get it here, so it is to use these. These are jumbo-sized playing cards, and an idea for a prediction effect that you could do is that, so say you're going to have your spectator cut to the 4 aces. Now these can be any 4 random cards, but basically you pull out the 4 cards that you want your spectator to cut to in the jumbo playing cards, and you put these in an envelope or something, and then you have your spectator cut the deck, and then you take out your prediction, you show the 4 cards that you've predicted, and then when you flip over the cards of the piles, they match the jumbo cards that you've predicted. Now you could do that with like regular cards as well, but this is just a fun idea for anyone who has jumbo cards or knows where to buy jumbo cards. So I'll leave a link down below if you want to buy these particular jumbo cards that I have here. So yeah, that's just a couple of ideas I have about this. And realistically, those ideas are something you might go back and check out after you've learned how to actually do this. So that is pretty much it. So without further ado, let's just get into the tutorial. Alright, in this video I'm going to be using the Green National playing cards. This is a very beautiful deck. It has a very beautiful tuck case with inner gold foil lining. I don't want this to turn into like a commercial or whatever, but like this is actually one of my favorite decks I have in my collection currently. So go check it out in the description, and you can buy it if you want. So we're going to be learning the beginner method first. Now I'm not going to be doing any performances, that way we can keep this video as short as possible. But we're going to learn the beginner method for doing this trick. So, the beginner method comes from this book right here. This is a really great magic book known as Expert Card Technique by Frederick Browie and Jean Hugar. Probably butchered the names quite a bit. But it's actually here in this chapter of the book, Birds of a Feather, right there on page 219. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's right there. That's where that trick's explanation is. So that's the method we're about to learn right now. So basically the way this method works is that you're going to want to control the 4 cards you want to force on your spectator on top. So obviously these are the cards your spectator is going to cut to. In this case, we're using the 4 aces. You can use any 4 of a kind you want. You can have them select 4 cards. Just make sure that they end up controlled to the top in whatever fashion you'd like. So at this point, you're going to set the deck down, and you're going to have your spectator separate it into a couple piles. So here's what's important. You're going to have them cut off the top packet of cards and put it right here to their right. So they're going to do that. And obviously on top of this packet of cards are your 4 aces. That's important. You have to remember that. Then you're going to have them cut off another packet right to the left of that, there left of that. Then another packet to the left, and the remaining packet to the left of that. So, basically, at this point, you're going to go through a procedure and explain that you're now going to mix up the cards a little bit more by going through a bit of a procedure. So basically, the way this procedure goes is that you're going to begin with the packet on their left, very left, and on your right. So you have to keep that in mind, that it's going to be on your right. Of course, from the spectator's point of view, which is the camera's angle, it is going to be the very right packet. But anyway, it's this packet right here. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to take 3 cards from the top, and this is what you're going to have the spectator do. You're going to move them to the bottom, and you're going to deal the top 1 card from the top onto each of the other 3 piles. And you set this down. And you're going to make it feel as if this is a shuffling procedure. That's important that your spectator believes this is a shuffling procedure. So once again, we take 3 cards, and you're going to move from right to left, or from the spectator's point of view, it's left to right. And when I explain these kinds of things, keep in mind, I'm trying to kind of compensate for the fact that the camera is at the spectator's angle. So keep in mind that you're not actually at the magician's angle, you're at the spectator's angle right now. So obviously, whatever you're seeing on the camera is what you're going to reverse. You're going to flip it around when you're performing. But basically, you're going to take 3 cards from this next pile, put them on the bottom, and then deal 3 cards onto each of the piles. It doesn't matter what order you do it. And you can have them mix up the order in which the piles go just to make it feel fair and random to them. And you're going to do that with the last packet. You're going to do that 3 to the bottom, and then you go 1, 2, 3. So once that is over, what you now have is you have just these random packets here. But the packet on your very left, on the magician's very left, on the spectator's very right, the packet that originally had all 4 aces on top should now have 3 random cards, then the 4 aces or the 4 forced cards underneath. So now, notice what happens. You're now going to take 3 cards off the top. Okay, just like with all the others, the same shuffling procedure, taking 3 cards off the top and putting them on the bottom. Keep in mind, these are now the 3 random cards that you initially put on top. So essentially, right in front of your spectators, with the spectator doing it, the spectator is ditching what you would need to ditch in a typical performance. The spectator is doing the work for you. They are literally doing all the work for you. So then they deal the top 3 cards on. Guess what? Oh, look, there's an ace. Oh, look, there's an ace. Oh, look, there's an ace. And what's the last card remaining on this top? An ace. So when they set this down, now you get this really cool final moment. And this is, out of all the different tricks, this is probably my second favorite way to do it, because you get this nice visual at the end where you get to take the cards like this. You get to show one at a time very cleanly that your spectators cut to all 4 aces. So running over that very quickly one more time. You begin by setting up by putting the aces or your 4 forced cards on the top of the deck. Then you have them cut 4 piles, making sure that the top packet with all 4 aces on top is on the magician's left side. And then at this point you begin with the packet on the magician's very right, taking 3 cards off the top, putting on the bottom, and dealing 3 cards, 1 card onto each of the other piles in this shuffling procedure. And really the only packets that are actually shuffled slightly by this procedure are really just these other 3 piles. It's really the last pile that doesn't get shuffled really much at all. And then obviously with this final pile, you have your 3 random cards that are going to the bottom, although it seems just like although it's exactly the same as the other shuffling procedures, it actually does something for us. And then of course you have an ace, 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 or this stays on top. And of course the spectator is dealing it face down, so they don't know it's going to be an ace. But at this point you explain to your spectator, you kind of give some time instruction by recapping what happened in the trick. You say, you cut 4 piles, we shuffled the piles a little bit more, and just so happens that you cut to the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4 aces. And that is the beginner method for this spectator cutting to the aces. Alright, this second method is sort of, I'm just going to say it's not necessarily an intermediate method. It's just a second easy sort of method. It's really the only advanced method is the last one. There's no really intermediate method for this. This is just a beginner method as well. But I will tell you, this method here is actually my favorite method for doing this, and I'll explain why at the end of the video. But I originally learned this from the Rise Magic YouTube channel as the Terrific Tens magic trick. It is still actually a very good trick, and I still perform it. It is a pretty cool trick. The way I originally learned this is that you would do it with 10 cards. Well, not 10 cards, but you would do it with the 4 tens. But you can do it with the 4 aces as well. So basically, the way you do this is you get your 4 cards to the top. No, sorry. That is a big lie. What you want to do is you want to get 2 of your cards to the top, and the other 2 need to be on the bottom. It doesn't matter what 2 are on top and bottom, you just need to get them there. So how can you get to this position? Well, let me show you how you can easily get to this position. So the way you would get into this position that I recommend is you can begin by taking your 4 cards and controlling them to the top in whatever fashion suits you. I've taught enough card controls in this channel that you should know some by now. If not, you have a little bit of homework to do. Just go watch some of my videos and you'll be able to find some card controls. So basically, once they're controlled to the top of the deck, you're now going to riffle up the back side, and basically at the back, I don't know how well you can see this, but you're basically just going to lift up and you're going to riffle until you get 2 cards left here, and you're going to get a pinky break underneath them. Now that's a very beginner way of doing it. You can also just spread a couple cards, and then as you square up, you lift up underneath 2 cards and get a pinky break that way. For me personally, an advanced method that I like to use is the pinky count. That's kind of an advanced method though. It's not one that I would recommend at this point for this channel, but you just need to get a break underneath the top 2 cards, and at this point, you can just do a basic double undercut. That's literally it. Just do a basic double undercut of 2 cards to the bottom of the deck, and that is pretty much all you have to do in order to control those cards to get to this position. So once you've gotten 2 of the cards on top and 2 of the cards on bottom, you can begin with the effect. So you're going to begin by cutting off some cards yourself. Now I know this might put some people off that you have to cut off part of the cards, but I'll explain why I prefer this method at the end. But basically you're going to cut off a small packet of cards, and when you do so, you want to actually slip cut that top card, okay? So I've talked about slip cutting before, I believe on the channel. I talked about it at least in my last video, which I'll leave a link to up on screen and in the description box down below. But basically you just slip cut this card here. So you end up, and you do this in undercover restriction, you just cut off a packet of cards, small packet, and so basically then you set this down, and the way I like to present this is the way that it was I originally learned this, is that you would cut off, you're trying to cut off a certain number of cards. You say, about how many cards would you say that is? And so they're kind of looking at it, and you're like, okay, try and cut off that number of cards. So the position after that slip cut should be that the packet on the table has an ace on top, and the deck in your hands has an ace on the top. So at this point you maybe stretch out your hand and have someone cut off a small packet of cards and set it here. Of course this has an ace on it. Now what you need to do is you need to get one of the aces from the bottom to the top of this packet, leaving the other one on bottom. So there are 2 ways to do this. The first way is that you could do it in an overhand shuffle like this. And the way that's done is that you're going to begin by doing a false, I forgot the name of it, bottom retention overhand shuffle. And basically the way that works is that you're going to do a regular overhand shuffle, but you're going to clamp down with these fingers to hold, so that when you peel out the cards, you hold just 1 card back like that. And undercover it looks like just a regular shuffle. So that's basically all there is to the bottom retention shuffle. But basically you're just going to do a bottom retention shuffle, and then you're going to shuffle off cards, and then you're going to shuffle off one by one until you have 1 card left, and you're going to slip that on top. So basically, and of course that's the ace. So once again, you just do bottom retention overhand shuffle, shuffle until you have 1 card left, and shuffle that on top. And that's going to bring that ace to the top. Another way you could do it is you could do like a double undercut, just like that, and get it to the top. Or probably just I know it seems super crazy, but you just take it and move it. If you are asking if you tell people So if you ask like the question, this is why I like the whole idea of trying to cut the same number as the magician. You say, hey, look at those packets for me. Which one would you say is, would you say that that packet is pretty close to being, or exactly the same as this one? And so people are kind of judging that, and as they do, you have all the time in the world that you can just do that. Okay, so it doesn't matter, just do some way, whatever way works for you, that you'll get one card from the bottom to the top and leave the other ace on bottom. So then once again, same routine. You just stretch your hand out, you have someone cut off a small packet of cards, and they set it down here, and then you can finish by either setting down this packet, which is what I would normally do, or you can cut off another small packet. We're not going to worry about that, though. If you want to figure out how that's done, you can go check out that Terrific Tens video, but we're just going to set it here. So, no, my bad. I skipped over a part. That's my bad. I jumped ahead of myself. You do need to get this final bottom card to the top, though. So the way I would probably do that is that I would say, all right, which one's closer? And as you do that, you can just move it to the top, or you can just casually shuffle. And if you do casually shuffle, this time don't do a bottom retention shuffle, do a regular shuffle, but end by slipping off that one final card on top. And then you set this part here, and you say, all right, so this is my packet. Which of these would you say is the closest? And it doesn't matter what people say. You say, well, I don't think you all necessarily got the same amount, but you were exactly spot on with mine because I cut to an ace. But it's actually pretty impressive because you guys actually cut to the aces. And that is pretty much how that one is done. So it's a very simple, another simple method, really simple. But it's brilliant. And again, at the end of the video, in the outro, I'll kind of talk about which one's my favorite and why I choose it as my favorite. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for that one. Alright, here is the final advanced method for doing this. So, this is a method that I can credit to 52 Cards. I learned it from the 52 Cards YouTube channel. And I've performed it a couple times, but I don't normally perform this just because for my personal performing environment, it just doesn't work necessarily for me. It's a little bit angle sensitive, but if you are someone who likes the kind of, if you're someone who's kind of move monkey-ish like me, and you kind of like doing the fancy stuff and the advanced stuff sometimes, this is a great one for you. And if your performing environment calls for it, this is great. And what I love about this one is that this one is very straightforward. You literally just have people cut 4 packets of cards, and you reveal that they've cut to the 4 aces. So this is a very good trick. So it's very straightforward, which is really great. But also, if you are someone who likes performing tricks kind of on camera, this is a really great performance piece because there's no weird oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, there's no like weird order of things going on. There's no strange like sequence of events that the magician is making happen like in that first beginner method. It's very straightforward. You literally just have them cut the cards, and I think, and that's kind of what I love about this. So it's really great. So if you want to perform this on camera, just get the right camera angle and then go perform it. Like, this is just a great thing to do in that scenario. So what you're going to need is you're going to need to get your 4 aces or whatever cards you want, and you're going to need to know how to do a Tenkai palm. So there are 2 palms you need to know for this. The first one is called the Gambler's Cop, and basically it looks like this. You basically just have the cards in a deeper position in the hand, and I'll leave a link in the description to a really great video teaching the Gambler's Cop. You also need to know how to do a Tenkai palm, which looks something like this, and it's a pretty cool palm because you can kind of keep your hands open a little bit. So I'll leave another really good video teaching the Tenkai palm down below. So you're going to begin by taking the 4 aces or whatever 4 cards, and you want to get them into a Tenkai palm. So you can do this on an offbeat moment. So you can do this in 2 ways. The first way is that you're going to give these a slight upward bend compared to the rest of the deck, so that they are bent just slightly more than the rest, just like this. So you can sit on the table, and maybe you have an object in front of it. As you go to move that object, you can use that bend to pick the cards up into that Tenkai palm. But another great way you can do it is that you can just get a break underneath these 4 cards, in whatever method suits you. I've mentioned a couple in this video already. and then you're going to transition that to a tent position on your thumb. And basically the way you kind of do that is you kind of let the cards lift up a little bit at the back, and you just lift them up with your thumb. And so you kind of lift them up into a tent position like that as you transfer them to your thumb. And you do that very briefly as you come over with this hand, and you just literally stick them into a tenkai palm. And I know it seems like kind of a gutsy thing to do, but it really actually flies by really well. But you just get it into tenkai like that. So once it's in tenkai palm, you'll notice that once with cards in tenkai palm, you can still hold a deck of cards quite freely, quite naturally. And I don't know how well you can see that, but from the side you can see I have these cards in tenkai palm, and I can still do all this. I can still cut the deck, I can still, I can't necessarily shuffle it, but I can do quite a few things with those cards still in tenkai palm. So basically you hand this to your spectator with the cards in tenkai palm, and you have your spectator shuffle the deck. Okay, and you want to keep this as hands-off as possible, and that provides two things for you. The first is that it allows you to not have to worry about flashing this tenkai palm too much. And secondly, it allows the effect to be very much, it allows to improve the effect so much more. So you have these cards in tenkai palm, and when you hand the deck to them to shuffle, make sure you do hold it with the tenkai palmed hand, because magicians oftentimes will do this, and I think it's a really great thing to do, is that by having a palm, by holding something in a hand with a palmed object, it tricks the spectator's mind into thinking that this hand is empty. Now, a magician will know it might not be empty, but it really tricks the mind. It's kind of crazy how it works. So if they see this hand empty, without just showing it like this, but just kind of casually resting it here, knowing that they see this hand empty, they see this hand holding something, so there's a reason for your hand's position. So obviously this hand must be empty too. That's their assumption, although you have quite a few cards there. So then you hand this to them, they shuffle it, and then they cut it into 4 packets. So after they've cut the good deck into 4 packets, you're then going to come over and you're going to have them place those cards in your open hand. So they're going to grab that card and they're going to place the cards in your outstretched hand. And I don't normally like this idea of holding your hand out to have them grab it, but it's something that I think is necessary for this particular trick. So once it's there, you're going to achieve this switch that looks like that. So from behind, with your left hand, you're going to use your index finger to kick these cards back, and you're going to kick them all the way into a gambler's cop position. So you're going to hold them in gambler's cop, and at the same time, you're going to come over here and you're going to grip it with your fingertips, these 2 fingertips here, with your index and middle fingertips and your thumb. You're going to grip the packet that was in tenkai palm, and you do this in the action of pointing to the paws. You see, you could have cut to any one of these cards. And notice the switch just happened. Now there is a slight discrepancy because you're holding the cards like this in a regular position and then you're gripping them like this. But trust me, no one ever notices that. So you gesture, and as you point, you do your switch, and you come back. And then what's really cool here is that you can spread these cards and show the 4 aces. And of course, these cards here are in Gambler's Cop. Now, of course, now you're done with this trick, pretty much. But the only thing is that you obviously have these cards in Gambler's Cop. So how do we fix that? Well, there are a couple ways you could ditch it. The first way is probably best for on camera, and that is that you simply just drop them on the floor. If you are a big fan of lapping, which I do sometimes, you can literally just drop them and lap them, which I fail to do. But it's, you could just ditch them like that. You could bring your hand down to your side casually if you're standing up and just ditch them in your pocket. Or, this works for pretty much any scenario, you gather up the packet and you just gather the deck back up and you bring it back to this hand, and as you bring it back to this hand, you just load those Gambler's Cup cards back on, just like, you know, you would with any Gambler's Cup. But that's pretty much it. So that's the advanced method for this trick. I hope you enjoyed that. Just kind of choose the method that works for you and practice them well. Alright, that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please like the video. As I said, I'm going to kind of tell you why the middle one was my favorite. The second one that we did, I like that one the best because the image is so clean. What I don't like about the advanced method would be my favorite one, except for the angles just don't work for my performance scenario that I'm normally in. So that's the only unfortunate reason why I don't really perform that one a whole lot. The reason I don't like the first one is because of the whole procedure that you have to do. The second one I really like because there's not a whole lot of procedure, and the ending image is really, really clean because you get to have those 4 aces very cleanly shown at the end. So the second method is my favorite for those reasons. If I had to give my second favorite method, I originally said that first method was my second favorite method, but going over all these methods again, I'm kind of thinking that the advanced method is probably my second favorite. The first original one is probably my least favorite, just because that weird shuffling procedure in the middle. But trust me, it still flies by. It really is a strong effect still, okay? Don't let that put you off from performing it if you're more of a beginner, or maybe you think it's a good method for it. So, yeah, and one more thing about this book, I will leave a link down below if you want to purchase this book from Amazon. And if you want to go through this book, you can find an additional method for doing this trick in this book under the ace assembly thing, just like where I found it in this book. And also, there are a couple methods for doing the Dream of Aces, McDonald's Aces trick that we learned a couple videos ago. There's an impromptu method in there. I think there actually might be more than one impromptu method. I haven't looked too closely into that yet because I don't perform that trick a whole lot more. And also the original double facer version that I taught you guys, well, maybe not the exact routine, but just the idea of using double facers in it is also mentioned in here. So, that's a really good book to check out for many other reasons. I'm just letting you know if you're looking for more research into the McDonald's Aces trick or more research into this trick, you can check out that book for reference. So, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I can't wait to see you in the next video. And it's going to be official. I'm going to officially announce it. I teased something a while back in my deck collection video about something I was going to do involving having a deck deck stacked in a particular order. We're going to begin working with that kind of stuff next week. I think it's finally time we get to that. But for now, I'm just going to leave you with this pretty fun idea of using the 4 aces. And yeah, that's pretty much it. For real this time, that's it. So I will see you in the next video. Bye.